Bueno, por lo que estuve leyendo es una especie de juego de aventura. Veremos qué tal es. Antes de esto vamos a tratar de... Bueno, vamos a darle play. A ver qué pasa. Jugar. A ver, estoy en un coche.
Carl
Monte
Faubert sought
1970.
information for a living. That is to say that ever since he returned from Korea, after having served with the armed forces, he had been working as a private investigator in Montreal. William Hamilton, a rich industrialist, had gotten in touch with him regarding a simple vandalism issue. Nothing to write home about. Not worth hiring a private eye either, just so he can drive for hours on rough roads. But that's how it had always been. The client pays, Carl gets it done.
A ver, hago un resumen. Al parecer, era un viejo participante, soldado del ejército. Ha salido de... Se ha retirado y ha empezado a trabajar como detective. Vamos a compartir el Twitch. Bueno, seguimos. Esto es mapa, opciones. Mapa, al parecer.
Now wasn't a good time to wander about. Hamilton was still out there. They had set up to meet at the general store, his client's business. Well, actually, the entire village had William Hamilton's name written all over it.
Soldado del ejército en Corea. Estamos en el monte de Quebec. A ver qué tal.
When the roads were bad, muddy, or snowed in, it was customary around these parts to close them off. But it was also customary to ignore those signs entirely and drive there anyway.
Me parece una especie de... puente, un viaje. Genial. Manastra, merece la pena. El norte de Quebec y sus inagotables recursos. La provincia de Quebec mantiene una abundancia inagotable de sus recursos naturales. ¿Por qué no sacarle partido? Nuestros valiosos minerales podrían recorrer el mundo y alcanzar lugares lejanos como Dallas, en los Estados Unidos. Forma parte de ello e invierte ya. Juntos impulsaremos el poderío económico de Quebec. En pleno corazón de la naturaleza salvaje, el norte es un hormiguero de lobos, caribús, osos, perdices, rosos, lechuzas, hordas de majestuosas criaturas que no tienen nada que envidiar a la fauna africana. Somos el África de América. Venga a descubrir el norte y disfrutar de una auténtica selva blanca. El condado más se espera muy pronto. Joder, que hay en esa torre. No, ya, sí.
Hamilton never mentioned a road blocking barrier. Why was it needed here in the back of Beyond? That would, however, be a mystery for another day. Carl had waited long enough for someone to come and raise it.
A ver, ¿qué podemos hacer?
Carl was meeting his client in a store near this area. He was on the right track.
Vaya, bueno. Hemos llegado a una especie de puente donde hay una sala de vigilancia. Hemos encontrado algunas herramientas. Estoy buscando la manera de cruzar para poder llegar al otro lado o abrir la... Bueno, sigamos.
Hamilton never mentioned a road blocking barrier. Why was it needed here in the back of Beyond? That would, however, be a mystery for another day. Carl had waited long enough for someone to come and raise it. Hamilton never mentioned a road-blocking barrier. Why was it dated here in the back of Beyond? That would, however, be a mystery for another day. Carl had waited long enough for someone to come and raise it. Still not a soul in sight. There was no point in waiting any longer. Carl had to figure this one out by himself. The Polaroid, Carl's long-standing and faithful ally, had seen its share of husbands caught red-handed cheating. There's always something out there waiting to be snapped away.
He dejado pisos.
The cutters made quick work of the chain. What better way to investigate vandals than to get into their shoes, Carl, the professional vandal, thought, reveling in the irony of the situation. Hamilton is waiting for Carl in the general store. It was time for him to get down to business. William Hamilton enjoyed a lavish country house built in the very heart of the northern forests, not too far from here. The local populace was divided when it came to the affluent man. Some saw a wealthy philanthropist dedicated to improving the region's economy. Others an aging Englishman who would do anything to further his fortunes. And those ones hated him enough to go on about scheming against him. Hamilton had recently acquired a few local businesses, but the last straw was the reopening of a mine, which gave rise to a wave of protests and threats from the Cree people. Given these circumstances, Carl reckoned that a good number of people must be feeling compelled to oppose Hamilton in one way or another. So far, only the industrialist's house had been a target, but soon enough, Carl thought, the target would become the man himself. Carl needed to get out of there. The cold and the pain required urgent care. Carl wondered how long he would have to endure this skin-stinging cold. The driver had taken off. It was still best to check it out and leave nothing to chance. Carl needed help. This deep in the country, his last hope was to find an abandoned garage or a farm by the roadside. His life depended on it.
Este camino puede ser muy frío.
Cold turned into pain. Carl needed to find someplace warm. Even better than he had hoped. Carl Faubert had succeeded once more and was now on his way to new adventures.
Bueno.